KARE 11 breaking news now.
We are taking a live look at Whittier Park, where people are gathering at this hour to remember both 37-year-old Alex Priddy, who was shot and killed today by federal immigration officers, and also Renee Good. They are protesting as well the immigration enforcement surge in the state.
This scene much calmer than the site this morning. This is video from this morning where hundreds of protesters were clashing with federal agents.
Now we are following the very latest on this developing situation right here on KARE 11 and also streaming on KARE 11 Plus. Thanks for joining us, everyone. I'm Morgan Wolf.
And I'm Rena Sargentopoulos. Protesters have been at the scene since the shooting was first reported this morning.
And this is exactly where it happened, around 9 a.m. on the intersection of Nicollet Avenue and 26th Street in the Whittier neighborhood in Minneapolis.
We do have multiple crews that are covering this developing situation right now. But we are going to start with Lou Raguse in the newsroom with more on what led up to this deadly shooting. Lou?
Well, Rena, what we know, Alex Priddy was a 37-year-old Minneapolis man who was in the vicinity of 26th Street and Nicollet Avenue, where ICE agents were present this morning. One bystander video seems to show Priddy filming in the middle of the street, and then he tried to pick up a woman who got pushed down. From there, he gets sprayed by an agent, and another video shows a group of agents restraining Priddy, then an agent firing a number of shots. Later, Homeland Security officials released a photo of a handgun along with 2 magazines that they say Priddy had on him. In their words, they say Priddy approached them with a gun and they attempted to disarm him. We have not seen any video yet that corroborates the assertion that Priddy brandished the gun. We're still sorting out what happened before the moments that were caught on video that we've shown you here. State investigators say that they have been shut out of the investigation. Federal officials not letting them into the crime scene. That situation is fluid and something that we will be updating all night. Back to you.
All right, thanks, Lou. Well, 8 hours later, the South Minneapolis shooting scene is still very active right now. Araya Katene is live with the latest. Raya?
There is still a large crowd out here, entirely peaceful from what we've seen. We're on the corner of 26th Street and Nicollet Avenue, and there are a lot of people who are holding signs. We've seen some people out here chanting in a rotation of speakers. One of them was a healthcare worker. Obviously, this is an industry that is especially impacted because, as we know, the victim, Alex, was an ICU nurse. And then I want to show you over here as well, there is a large group of people that are filtering in and out of these shops and restaurants on Nicollet. This is known as Eat Street, and some of these shops have shut down for the day but have opened up their doors to people just as warming centers. If people need hot water or coffee or warm hand warmers, whatever it may be, they are able to stop in, do that, and come back outside to protest. And this group has consistently stayed about the same size. I don't think that people are going anywhere for now. I've talked to a few protesters who tell me they will be out here for as long as it takes.
And Raya, can you confirm there are no police agencies on the scene, either local or federal at this point? Is that right?
Rena, that is correct. We know for certain that federal agents left earlier, and I don't see any more out here on the scene, but I also don't see a local police presence as well.
All right, and we do know that the chief said that they will take care of that. They are having National Guard come in and creating a zone to create some safety tonight. All right, Raya, thank you.
And we are learning more tonight about Alex Priddy, the man who was shot and killed this morning by federal agents. KARE 11 investigative reporter AJ Legault joining us now. AJ, I know you managed to get in touch with some of his neighbors.
Yeah, we went out to the scene of where he lived. I spoke with a number of neighbors this afternoon. Now, here's what we know about him. He was 37 years old. As Chief O'Hara told us earlier this morning, he was a lawful gun owner with a permit to carry. And just before I came on set, his family had spoke with the Associated Press. We know his parents appear to live out in Colorado. They said he was an avid outdoorsman who loved getting in adventures with Jewel, his beloved Catahoula leopard dog, who also had recently died. They told us, the AP, that he had participated in protests following the shooting of Renee Good by ICE earlier this month, and in a recent conversation with their son, his parents told him to be careful when protesting. Now, here's a quote from his father. He said, "We had this discussion with him 2 weeks ago or so, you know, that go ahead and protest, but do not engage, don't do anything stupid," basically. That's what Michael Priddy said. And he said his son said he knew that. he knew that. Now, as we've looked into his background, he graduated in 2006 from Preble High School in Green Bay. A LinkedIn account details Preddy was a junior scientist with the U of M since starting there in 2012. His family told us he was an ICU nurse. We've also confirmed he worked as a nurse for some time at the U.S. Department of Veterans Affairs. So for the federal government, which certainly indicates that he passed government background checks with no problem. Now, neighbors of Alex in the Lyndale neighborhood told me that he is not the violent man the federal government is trying to claim.
All I know is that he's oh my gosh. All I know is that he's been a good neighbor. I talk to him over the fence all the time. He walks his dog. He's a registered nurse. I don't know what else to say. It's senseless.
I'm kind of shocked. I mean, just as I learned that it was my neighbor, I was watching the videos that seemed like he wasn't a violent threat. So, and I'm shocked that this happened, actually.
That's how crazy it's gotten. That it's just getting way too close. That now it's just right here. That people that I know, good people, are being shot. And I don't think he was a threat to anybody. I don't think that he was a threat to anyone.
These neighbors I was speaking with are on the Lyndale Neighborhood Association and Crime and Safety Committee. They were, as you saw, just floored when I broke the news and some other reporters to them that their neighbor was the man that they were seeing be killed in these social media videos.
It hits a little different when it's someone that you know. So
Yeah,
I'm sure it was
absolutely.
incredibly shocking to them. AJ, thank you for getting that information for us.
Thanks, AJ. Well, many people witnessed this morning's shooting. Jessica Hart heard from people who say that they were the first to the scene and joins us live now with what they saw. Jessica?
Yeah, it's a very different scene right now than it was this morning when we saw protesters kind of clashing with police. Right now there's several barricades formed up. These look like these were taken from a restaurant. They look like restaurant tables. And then something new that we've noticed is that we told you that protesters have gotten under the roofs. Well, someone has put up a big iced out resist sign right over there at Cheapo Records. Now, the woman we talked with this morning, she was very upset. She was just kind of on her way to go to church when she heard the gunshots. Now, this is video from earlier this morning, just kind of showing people what we were seeing and what was happening. Earlier this morning, there were several law enforcement agencies out there. There are not any right here at 26th and Nicollet at this moment. But I want you to hear what this woman heard this morning when that shooting happened.
So I'm crossing 27th and I hear gunshots and a lady came running down the street and grabbed me and hugged me and they tear gassed her. And I looked down the street, I went down the street and he was laying in the street. He was laying at the bus stop and there was no chance because there were so many holes in blood. And I think it's wrong. I hope he wasn't scared and I hope he went to heaven right away.
You can hear how upset she is in that video. As I mentioned earlier, she was just on her way to church this morning when she heard those gunshots. She stayed out here because she feels like what is happening in Minneapolis is wrong and she wants people to know about it. Back to you.
All right. Thanks, Jessica. Well, hours ago, the Department of Homeland Security gave us its official account of the third federal agent shooting in Minneapolis in less than 3 weeks. DHS says that this morning's officers were conducting a targeted operation against an illegal immigrant in South Minneapolis, and they say 37-year-old Alex Preddy approached U.S. Border Patrol and, quote, brandished a 9mm semi-automatic handgun. DHS says that officers attempted to disarm Preddy, but they say that he became violent and resisted. DHS says an officer, fearing for his life and the lives and safety of fellow officers, then fired, quote, defensive shots. Tonight's cell phone videos of the latest Minneapolis fatal shooting by a federal agent are going viral on social media. Now, our Chris Rapsky has been closely monitoring these and joins us now with more.
From this video, you can see Preddy holding a phone up and directing a car through traffic. Moments later, a woman says something to a federal agent and is shoved to the ground. Preddy touches the agent's arm and holds his own arm up in defense as an agent sprays Preddy's face. Preddy is sprayed again, pushed, and then pulled off the woman as he clings to the woman's backpack. Preddy is taken to the ground. On his knees, he appears to resist detainment. From another angle, you see a man in a gray coat with nothing in his right hand walk around Preddy and reach toward his belt area. Seconds later, you can see a gun in that man's right hand being taken away from the scrum. Back to the other angle, you can see both hands of Preddy appear empty in a clenched fist on the ground. A third angle shows one officer draw their weapon and a gunshot is heard. It's unclear in the video what gun the shot is fired from first. Agents back up and 9 more gunshots can be heard fired from multiple weapons.
There's one part of the video afterward, once they realize that Preddy is down and he is not moving and he is being administered aid by a panicked agent, who I believe is an agent. And the agent asks for his scissors to, take his coat off to address the wound. And he asks, "Where is the gun?" And he sort of reaches around and looks to see if there's a gun around Preddy. And someone says, "No, the gun is over there." And he turns around and looks, meaning that there was no gun underneath Preddy. And it may have been what was taken out by that man in sort of the gray coat before, meaning he may not have had a weapon on him when he was shot. But I cannot prove that. We're only dissecting what those 3 angles of video can show us. This is why evidence is so important. This is why independent investigation, as deep as they can go, is important, because it doesn't matter what politicians federally, locally, statewide say at the end of the day. It's what the evidence shows. And we just did our best to show you what those 3 videos show us and show you.
All right, Chris, we appreciate that information. Thank you. This dramatic video shows protesters clashing with immigration officers following the deadly shooting of Alex Preddy this morning. Sammy Salina was on the scene. Her crew quickly edited these images together from the protests earlier.
When did you get here, T?
I got here shortly after the shooting had happened. They hadn't even gotten the police lines up yet, which we were down by the Black Forest parking lot when I got here. Minneapolis emergency responders were administering CPR around a person on the west side of the street across from Glamdell Donuts. A lot of pointing of mace and bear spray.
Oh, hang on. All right, no. Be safe, get safe. We're just gonna back up here. Thanks, T. Get out of here, bitch. Hang on. Hold on, I can't.
Federal agents, they seem to be running, trying to catch the protesters. Let's go inside, Mitchell. Let's go inside. They're now taking apart that barricade at the moment, just trying to get things out of the street. Hey! Watch out, watch out, watch out!
Certainly some tense moments that we saw earlier today. Well, just within the last hour, we did hear from local leaders again who are now calling for Governor Walz to call up the Minnesota National Guard to help reinforce local law enforcement resources in Minneapolis. Megan McPherson was at that press conference and joins us live now. Megan?
Yeah, hey guys, as you mentioned, that press conference wrapped up here at City Hall just within the last 30 minutes or so. The biggest piece of new information that we heard from Minneapolis Mayor Jacob Frey is that on Monday he will be filing a declaration to encourage a judge to rule on a temporary restraining order that is designed, they say, to seize ICE operations here in the state. We also heard from Minneapolis Police Chief Brian O'Hara, who, as we heard earlier in that press conference, shared some of the updates that we've been receiving on throughout the day about the shooting incident, the fatal shooting incident from this morning. But he also said, and I wanted to note this, that while, initially some of those protests right after were peaceful, some of the protests did escalate. He said that there was a lot of unlawful activity going on down there, including some barricades, objects like glass bottles being thrown, and then also 2 fires that he mentioned that were started, and this did prompt the use of some less lethal munitions from Minneapolis police. So he did comment on that. Now, one question that was also asked by another member of the press here drew a very strong reaction from Mayor Frey and Senators Amy Klobuchar and Tina Smith. That question was, do you expect the Trump administration to abide by a temporary restraining order if approved? Take a listen to his response.
The question is, will this administration abide by a court order? These are the underpinnings of our democracy, of our republic, and of this Constitution. The answer better be yes. Whether you're a Democrat or you're a Republican, you abide by those court orders.
As you heard from their tension certainly running high. I'll send it back to you.
Megan, thank you. Governor Walz and other state leaders also reacting to today's shooting, many firmly pushing back at the federal government's account of what happened. Our Kent Erdl joins us now with what they had to say. Kent.
Yeah, Governor Walz took the podium behind me at about 1:30 this afternoon, along with the Commissioner of Public Safety, and he repeated those calls to end what he calls the occupation of these Twin Cities and state of Minnesota by ICE. He also vowed very forcefully to prosecute and investigate what happened today. Take a listen.
I've seen the videos from several angles, and it's sickening. But I have a strong statement here for our federal government. Minnesota's justice system will have the last word on this. It must have the last word. As I told the White House in no uncertain terms this morning, the federal government cannot be trusted to lead this investigation. The state will handle it, period.
Now, at the time of that assertion, we already knew, according to the Department of Public Safety and the BCA, that they were blocked from conducting an investigation at the crime scene by the Department of Homeland Security. So I asked the governor, back to that fundamental question, what happens if the president and the federal government says no? He said he didn't expect them to cooperate, so I followed up with this. What are the people of Minnesota supposed to do who are in the middle right now? Because if they do Stonewall and you're trying to investigate, is that force on force?
Yeah, no, it's a good question. And look, I speaking to the people of Minnesota right now, I hear that scream from you, and I'll continue to plead and ask you for peace. And I know the answer is you ask us for peace and we give it, and we get shot in the face on the streets coming out of a donut shop. We cannot give them what they want.
Again, the governor talking about trying to urge the people to be peaceful and calm despite everything that they're hearing and seeing on television. As you mentioned, the city of Minneapolis has requested the National Guard to help out with some police functions. We're going to be getting more information on what that might look like here. We know that they're going to be helping out. We'll be providing more information as we get it throughout the rest of the night. Back to you.
All right, Kent, thank you so much. And of course, plenty more on this story.